Alright, Shalom. I'm the brother Tasayat, coming back with another video. But before I start off, I would like to give all praises and the highest honor to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kadash. I want to give double honor to my elder apostles and teachers of Great Millstone, and peace and salutation to the sincere Akyam across the world who are spreading this knowledge in truth and sincerity. And may the election be upon your households. Shalom. So, as you can see, the title says, New Florida standards teach students that some black people benefited from slavery because it taught useful skills. Okay, so of course that is some bullshit, but anyway, that is what I want to go into today. Okay, because these people, they don't like you, man. Okay, they might act like they are friends, these so-called white people, these Caucasians, but this is what is in their minds, you know. They always gonna think like this. Okay, that is why the Most High is gonna put them also in slavery and is gonna punish them for what they have done to us. Okay, but we as Israelites, we as so-called black people, okay, we really believe that some of these Caucasians, are actually our friends and things like that, man. Not just because one might be friendly means that the 999 are friendly also and are not racist. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the article. It says the standards, which were blasted by a statewide teachers union as a step backward, were approved Wednesday by the State Board of Education. So a lot of teachers are actually against this, but the State Board of Education approved it. Okay, so that is also something important to know. Florida's public schools will now teach students that some black people benefited from slavery because it taught them useful skills. So in a sense, yes, we did get some skills, of course, but the way they was forcing us to do these skills, that is a whole different thing, man. Beating you almost to death, feeding you nothing, making you work 24 hours in the hot sun, making you watch as a man how your wife or children get raped, doing all types of crazy things with you, torturing you, and then forcing you to make certain things or to do certain things. Of course you're gonna learn skills left and right, yes, but look at the way how it was taught, man. That is just evil. Okay, part of new African American history standards approved Wednesday that were blasted by a state teachers union as a step backward. Okay, so a lot of these teachers were actually not were against this, but it still got approved. The Florida State Board of Education's new standards includes controversial language about how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. Yeah, right. According to a 216-page document about the state's 2023 standards in social studies posted by the Florida Department of Education. It says other language that has drawn the ire of some educators and education advocates includes teaching about how black people were also perpetrators of violence during race massacres. This is a picture right here from 1850. It says formerly enslaved people at Fowler's house in Cumberland Landing, circa 1850, so around that time. So I'm gonna just read these two more parts, then I'm gonna end the article. But before I read on, let's grab some precepts, man. Okay, let's go to let me see, because I was speaking of the wickedness, that the wickedness is still in them, looking class. Let me see, what scripture was it again? Yeah, Sirach 12:10. Never trust thine enemy. So it says here, Sirach 12 verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. So when do you trust your enemy? Never. For like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, so even though these enemies, even though these Caucasians might seem like they are humble, might act humble and docile and kind into your face, yet take good heed and beware of him. Don't let your guard down, man. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust had not been altogether wiped away. So eventually, just like how iron after a while will get rusty, that is how these Edomites after a while will show their wickedness. Okay, it's in them. It's like you at the surface it might not seem like it with your own eyes, but if you have a looking glass, which means you look closer, you look deeper, and you really, take seconds to listen to what they are saying and take a second to really, look at their behavior and observe their behavior, then you're gonna zoom in and see the rust, which basically means then you're gonna see the wickedness and for what they are, man. Because this is what is in the soul and in the minds of many of these Caucasians. Okay, many Caucasians they maybe not tell you, but many of them think it was a good thing in slavery because why? Their nation benefited of it, right? Okay, so don't let them fool you, man. They're nice and kindness acts. Oh, we gotta love one another. We are all one people, because now that the government is also coming for them, now these Caucasians want to start unity and things like that, because it's also hurting them, But when it was only hurting us, you did not hear anything about it. Okay, so also, not only the Caucasians, but the other races, they also don't give a fuck about us, man. So this is Jeremiah. Let me go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 5. And it reads, For who shall... Oh, Salakia. Yeah. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? And pity is like, who's gonna feel sorry for you, O Jerusalem. So it's a question like, who's gonna feel sorry for you, O Israelites? The Israelites, the real biblical Hebrew Israelites, as you might know, are the so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and the so-called Native Americans. Okay, and it's not a thing that if you are dark, that your skin is dark, that you automatically be from the race of from the nation of Israel, and that you are one of the chosen ones. Okay, it goes according to the bloodline of your father's side. If your father is an Israelite, a dark-skinned Israelite, then you are Israelite as well. But if your father is an Edomite, then you are an Edomite. Okay, it doesn't matter where your mother is from. So that way you might have a dark-skinned Israelite from around the time of slavery 200 years ago, making children with a white woman, and they get a son, and the son is a little bit lighter brown than his father, and that son grows up and makes a child with a white woman again, and they get a son again. The child is now even lighter than the father, and if that continues, that cycle, after a few hundred years, the child is gonna look like a so-called Edomite, so-called white man, but his seed line, he's still a duplication of that first Israelite that was dark skinned. The other way around can also happen. Okay, an Edomite man making a child with a dark skinned female. Okay, and they get a son. The son might look dark skinned, but he is still the seed of his father, which is this Edomite. And that dark skinned son might make another son with a dark female. And before you know it, if that continues, you have a whole, family line of dark skin lookalikes, but their seed line goes back to that Edomite. That's why you sometimes have black people, so-called black people with dark skins, acting white and having no rhythm, no sauce, nothing at all, man. You be wondering yourself like, hey man, are you really one of us, or what is going on? Because sometimes they ain't. Okay, so sometimes when a dark-skinned person is racist, he really cannot help it, man, because most likely he is one of them Edomites, or he's just a wicked Israelite. That is also possible, But anyway, Jeremiah chapter 15 verse 5. For who shall have pity upon thee, O Jerusalem? Or who shall bemoan thee? Or who shall go aside to ask how thou doest? So nobody cares about us, basically, man. That is what it says. And clearly this shows it again. Okay. Now you do have a portion of teachers that are against it, of course, but they actually have no power, man. The ones that are in the power seat, okay, the Caucasians, they of course have the power. Them rich Caucasians that have the power, they are ultimately the ones who are gonna decide what is going to happen, and they are gonna come for the Israelites, man. So reading on, let me see. That language says, instruction includes acts of violence perpetrated against and by African Americans, but is not limited to 1906 Atlanta race riot, 1919 Washington D.C. race riot, 1920 OC massacre, 1921 Tulsa massacre, and the 1923 Rosewood massacre. The Florida Education Association, a statewide teachers union representing about 150,000 teachers, called the new standards a disservice to Florida students and are a big step backward for a state that has required teaching African American history since 1994. How can our students ever be equipped for the future if they don't have a full, honest picture of where we've come from? Florida students deserve a world-class education that equips them to be successful adults who can help heal our nation's divisions rather than deepen them. Andrew Spar, president of the union, said in a statement. Okay, so they want to teach you, of course, one side of slavery, making you think that it was actually good, man. That is what these white people be doing, man, and that is evil as hell. Okay. So anyway, I hope y'all get a point. Try not to lower your guard around these people. Speaking for myself also, because this is really what is going through the minds of the ones that are ruling. So with that, I want to give all praises and the highest honor to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash. I want to give double honor to my elder apostles and teachers of Great Millstone, and peace and salutation to the sincere Akyam across the world, who are spreading this knowledge and truth and sincerity. And may the election be upon your households. Khan Shalom.